Hello and welcome to this evening's news segment on the resurgence of open pit coal mining in Alberta. First of all, what is open pit mining? It is defined in the Dictionary of Energy as a method of mining in which the surface excavation is open for the duration of the mining activity. Employed to remove ores and minerals near the surface by first removing the waste or overburden and then breaking and loading the ore. Used to mine thick, steeply inclined coal beds, and also used extensively in hard rock mining for metal ores, copper, gold, iron, aluminum, and other minerals. So how exactly does it work? Open pit mines are dug on benches, which are vertical levels as you go down the hole. They are dug at an angle, which is a method used to prevent or minimize dangers, such as rock falls. The benches work to slow down a rock fall and prevent the rock from falling all the way down the open mine pit. Other components of the mine can include ground supports to maintain the structure of the mine, or dewatering bores, which are used to relieve water pressure. Mine sites also include haul roads, which need to be built so vehicles can go to and from the mine, and open pits for waste rock and other debris. Now we will look at some examples of open pit coal mines around the world. First off, we have the Dawson open pit coal mine in Queensland, Australia. Secondly, we have the Wester open pit coal mine in Sparwood, British Columbia. And finally, we have the Teck Elkford Operations open pit coal mine in southeastern British Columbia, as seen from Mount Erickson. Hopefully, these images provide some reference for the size and scope of an open pit coal mine. Next, we will discuss some of the various recorded environmental implications of open pit coal mines. First off, we have surface disturbances. The nature of open pit mining leads to large-scale disturbances of the Earth's surface through the removal of soil, rock, and coal. Typically, there is not enough materials to refill open pit mines. This leads to greatly altered topography such as lakes, basins, and steep slopes. Due to the unnatural and non-homogeneous nature of these slopes, there is often erosion and mass wasting. Secondly, there is the generation of gases. Particularly in the case of mining, methane emissions are a major concern. The exact amount of emissions from open pit mining is difficult to determine. However, scientists believe anywhere from 0.03 to 0.2 meters cubed of methane per metric ton of coal mined is released. Thirdly, there is the production of liquid effluents, liquid waste or sewage. Large quantities are produced and released by open pit mines. Another concern is acid mine drainage. Soluble salts can be released and then lead to caustic topsoil conditions. Other components, such as sulfides, can also end up being converted to acid that can impact the surrounding environment. The hydrologic impact of open pit mines varies. Stream runoff is greatly impacted. Increased runoff can lead to channel erosion, while decreased runoff can occur due to increased permeable rock strata being exposed. Mining activities can lead to reduced infiltration rates, which lead to decreased groundwater storage and reduced water availability. Changes in the chemical system due to the sudden influx of oxygen from water can lead to high concentrations of salts and other soluble compounds in groundwater aquifer systems. Lastly, open pit mining leads to a large amount of solid waste and dust production, more so than underground mining. Open pit mining can produce 10 tons of solid waste per 1,000 tons of coal and 0.06 to 0.1 tons of dust per 1,000 tons of coal produced. Now, we will discuss some of the various impacts on wildlife that can occur due to open pit mining. Selenium toxicity due to mining activities in British Columbia and Alberta has been recorded. Selenium is released into the environment via the oxidation of sulfides that are found in exposed rock that are a typical waste product from mining activities. Selenium has the potential to bioaccumulate in reproductive tissues and eggs, which can lead to reproductive abnormalities. Fish, water birds, and amphibians are most at risk as they are exposed to elevated concentrations of selenium in their food sources, which include other fish and invertebrates. Cristescu and her research team found in their paper, Land Use Planning Following Resource Extraction, Lessons from Grizzly Bears at Reclaimed and Active Open Pit Mines, that human activities related to mining led to increased risk of human-caused mortalities. This was due to the expansion of access into previously remote areas, which poses a major threat to the long-term viability of grizzly bears. Particularly, issues may arise along roads utilized to access mining sites, as collisions with haul road traffic could lead to increased deaths. McCullum, in his paper, Mountain Restoration, Soil and Surface Wildlife Habitat, summarized the impacts of industrial activities on ungulate populations. Overall, there have been various studies that have demonstrated the negative effects of industrial activity and mining operations on ungulates. Mining activities in Idaho led to reduced elk, moose, and deer populations. Land that had been strip mined for coal and subsequently was reclaimed also had reduced elk populations. Man-made mineral licks can also be formed by mining activities. Bighorn sheep in the Alberta foothills were attracted to these man-made mineral licks, and this left sheep more susceptible to exploitation and risks associated with toxic chemicals, crowding, and range depletion. So what happens to a mining site when the mine is no longer in operation? After mining finishes, the mine undergoes rehabilitation. Waste dumps are flattened and stabilized. Ore containing sulfides must be covered with a layer of clay to prevent oxidation, which leads to the creation of sulfuric acid. This layer will then typically be covered with soil and vegetation. This is done to slow the rate of leaching or acid entering the environment. Due to the open pit mining being relatively new, there is no long-term studies about how successful these types of coverings are. It could potentially take thousands of years for waste dumps to become acid neutral and stop leaching into the environment. The dump is typically fenced off to prevent access by wildlife, and they can then fill up with groundwater. So, what are the direct implications of all of this for Alberta? There was historical legislation known as the Coal Policy of 1976. It governed coal leasing, exploration, and the development across 4 categories of land that encompass most of the western portion of the province. These are ecologically sensitive regions that contain critical watersheds and extensive biodiversity. It prevented the creation of open-pit coal mining in these areas. These maps highlight the 4 categories of land that were protected and how it intersected with caribou and grizzly bear ranges. Let's go to Emily DePally on location.
Thank you, Emily, from the newsroom. Unfortunately, we are not in the Rocky Mountains. We are not in the Crow's Nest Pass. We are, in fact, in my backyard due to funding cuts this year. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Emily. Now, under the current Conservative government led by Jason Kenney, the legislation was rescinded as it was viewed as outdated and redundant. It expired on June 1st of this year, 2020, and only some Category 1 land, as seen in yellow, in the Rocky Mountains remain protected. This change led to a large amount of upset from environmental groups and scientists, particularly as there was no indication of this change and no public consultation. The policy provided a holistic approach to protecting ecosystems, wildlife, and Alberta's headwaters. Nisa Peterson of the Alberta Wilderness Association said, "Now there is no system in place that is enforceable and has evidence-based limits on total land disturbance from industrial operations." And already we are seeing industry members capitalizing on this change in legislation. Banga Mining Ltd, an Australian company that's a subsidiary of Riversdale Resources Ltd, has bid to build the Grassy Mountain Coal Mine, a proposed steelmaking coal mine that will be developed on a legacy mining area. The project will occur 7 kilometers north of Blairmore, Alberta in the Crow's Nest Pass, and will occupy 1,500 hectares. It is projected to produce around 93 million tons of product coal over its 23-year mine life. Currently, the project is being reviewed by the provincial and federal regulators. Overall, these legislative changes have led to increased debate about the economic implications of these new projects versus the potential environmental impacts. We hope tonight's segment was educational and helped our viewers develop a more nuanced understanding of this developing and important topic in Alberta. Thank you for watching, and this was Emily DePally with the news.